What's up, everyone? We're back for another LB7 Duramax video, and today I have a lot of parts behind me and more keep rolling in, so let's get right into it. So before we get to all the fun stuff, over here we have a Banks oil cooler upgrade. I need to get her on the trash can before she poops on it. She hopped up there by herself. We have a fluid damper over here. Basically, the engine, I have everything for now. I just got the seal kit for the back. So this will be going in soon now that I have the Whirly stuff. So the Whirly Custom Fab stuff is a full S300 kit, powder-coated illusion purple. I went with the 6473. It was the S360 4.5 SXE turbo. It is a split fin design, so you can see there's blades on the outside here, but then there's also blades down there on the inside. This allows for a bigger bite of air, but the exducer side of the wheel gets the air flowing through the turbo faster. So it's a new modern design, but this should be a very drivable turbo. It's 0.91 A over R. Should be a very drivable turbo. I went with a full kit, tall pedestal, traction bars. I got the 68s because I think they mount like here-ish if you get the shorter ones, and I like them to be like in the flat spot. I don't know, there's probably some science behind it. But came with a Y bridge as well. This is a big choke point on the LB7s. The factory Y bridge is not the greatest. Neither is the turbo inlet, but that's going to be fixed with this ginormous airbox. Charge pipes, obviously, had to go with the full kit. And then the billet topside thermostat housing. That's the pipe for it over there. I've seen people do it without it. Whirly says you need it for this kit. You don't. I know that for a fact because I've seen it done multiple times. But I went ahead and got it just because I'm going to do it the right way, and it's going to look a lot better. It's going to get that factory coolant pipe. Normally they run over the engine. This takes it up out the front, so it's just less stuff on the engine, makes it a little easier to work on. Traction bars came with an install kit. These ship raw because you can weld them to the frame. I'm going to bolt them on. I think I'm going to keep the traction bars as short as possible. I don't know exactly where the back end's gonna sit yet. I have to get it on the ground. I do have some new U-bolts over here from John C. Garage. This kit comes with a down pipe that will work with the factory exhaust. I have a new exhaust over there. Oil lines. They sent me enough stickers to last for like an entire year. I got a turbo blanket. That is a driver's side transmission dipstick because the transmission will interfere, so this just kind of goes down the opposite side. I think this is the driver's side one. It's either that or an upgraded passenger. Pretty sure it's the driver's side one. And then we have a lot of money in boots right here. These boots are extremely expensive. Comes with new bands. I mean, we got basically everything we need. Turbo pedestal here, they make shorter ones. I got the longer one, but it is a twin scroll design, so basically one up pipe feeds one side of the turbo. They eventually meet up, but it's supposed to help spool up a little faster, which is not going to be an issue because that is a smaller turbo. So I want to get this on the engine real quick just because I want to see where the turbo is going to actually sit because I've been curious about that. So let's do that real quick. So I just got some pieces set on the motor. Pieces are going to be going on next. This is the billet topside thermostat housing. Normally it comes out the front here, but we are doing this one. That's a really cool piece right there. The Y bridge is a one piece on the LB7s. I like them a lot more because you can get to the CB3 lines. The other model Duramaxes, there's like a Y bridge piece and there's like the mouth piece you have to shove in there, and it's just, these are so much better. Even if they're a little harder to get out, which with an S300 is like the easiest thing in the world because you can see everything. That's what I like about these kits, is they really just clean up the engine bay a lot. The turbo blanket is going to fit well. There's like a little wire you use to tighten it, but I'm just using this for mock-up right now. The turbo, I'll have to get the feed kind of turned a little bit. They don't ship these turbos ready to go. You kind of got to shift them around. Then I've seen everyone, they've been angling them down, not like this far, but maybe like up to here. I don't know if you have to do that or if they're just doing that for looks, but I kind of like how it looks. So I'll probably try and keep it angled a little bit, but I'm not sure how the kit's going to fit. All right, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and get this traction bar finished up. I did have to make some TikTok videos, so I went ahead and got this side done, but I will show you guys my process for that bar. I got a new set of U-bolts. I went ahead and got those slid on. You just support the frame in the back, and you can just lift them off safely. Just make sure you're not on an incline. But first things first, you have to get the bottom bracket on. These brackets are directional. This is the driver's side, and they angle a little bit. You can kind of see a little angle in there. It's kind of hard to see, but right there you can see that one's angled. But I think the letter goes in the back, so it fits like this. You'll know the traction bar angles in towards the frame, so you'll know if you have this backwards. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this thrown on. All right, just like that, I got that bracket installed. I got these pretty tight with an impact. You can use Loctite on them if you want. I don't normally, but this is something I check every now and then. Make sure these are tight. But those aren't going anywhere, so now I get the traction bar into here, and then I need to measure with the paint marker on the frame where I need to drill the holes. On a side note, these brackets for the traction bars, these come raw. They were meant to weld onto the frame, or they have holes for bolts, or you can bolt and weld them. I'm only bolting them on for now, just because I don't know exactly where the truck's gonna sit height-wise. I need to get the bed on it and make sure I get the weight on the whole frame, and then I can get exactly where these need to go. I don't have the engine in it yet, so all those small things are gonna just move the frame the tiniest bit. I'm gonna wait till all that's done, and then I will end up welding these. This heim joint here on the end, you can screw it in, just make sure it's equal with the other one. I'm leaving mine mostly all the way in because I'm not sure. I think I'm not gonna lift or lower the truck. I think I'm just gonna leave it how it is for now. So I kind of put it there, and I'm gonna screw it all the way in up to this nut. It's exactly how the other one is. They're basically as short as they'd go. And it's also more strength because when they're screwed out too far, you can kind of feel there's a little play in there. So I'm gonna put them as far as I can in, and then we'll get this bar mounted up, and then I need to drill the holes for the mounting bracket in the front. All right, it's kind of hard to record, but what I like to do is I put the bracket on the end like this, and then you just lift the traction bar up, put it on the frame, and you can paint mark where you need to go. What I do is I drill this hole first, and then I tighten this bolt down, take the traction bar out, and then line that one up and drill that one. So I got one bolt in and tight. So now what I'll do is I'll drop this traction bar down and then drill the next one, and then install this bracket permanently, get the traction bar put up, bolt on both ends, and then we are done. All right, got that bracket bolted in both places. So now it's time to just lift the traction bar up and then tighten both sides. Now it's time to start building the engine again. I'd like to have this completed by the end of the video, or mostly completed. First up, I got some thermostats. These are pretty basic. You got the small one in the front and the big one in the back, just like this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this seal in here. Right, so I got this plate sitting on here. This O-ring is being extremely annoying. So when I tighten this down, I'll just have to make sure that folds into that groove. But they do have new bolts for this, thankfully. The Allen head bolts fit down really nicely. I like that they kind of added that detail, help it look a little more clean. Next, let's move on to the Y bridge. I got the O-rings set in this. Now it's time just to carefully put this on the studs. You got to try and keep the O-rings straight, just like that. Got the Y bridge bolted in. I'm gonna go ahead and plug off the oil feed for the turbo. We have a relocate kit. It's going to be on a bolt on the side down there, but this is going to get rid of that ugly factory line. All right, got that done. Went ahead and put in the turbo pestle. I baked on some high heat paint, heated up with the torch. I think I did 4 coats because I really don't want this to rust. So that is heat treated. I've done it before on headers and it actually works really well. So I need to get this bolted down and figure out what we're doing next. Been working on this engine for a little while, just getting a lot of the boring stuff done, getting the fuel lines ran, got to get the return lines on. The Whirly kit, the return line you do a little differently. You delete the FPRV, and then I think you cut the old hard lines, so like this right here. I think you got to cut this up and then just like hose clamp the lines in. That's what it looked like online anyway. That's what they did. So you can see that's a piece of the factory. That's a piece of the factory. They just kind of cut out this piece. So I think that's what you do. I'll have to verify that. But I got the feed port in. I got it blocked off right now. And then I need to get the return in. And then basically the fuel system's going to be done. I went ahead and got it off the stand. Just toss some rags up here so the chains don't hit. This is totally safe. I trust it. I'm going to start with the back plate. Got to get the back plate cleaned up a little bit. Get the little die grinder. Take care of all that. And then I have a seal kit from Merchant. It's like a whole kit. I accidentally bought two. Don't know how that happened, but it's a full seal kit with like everything you need, including flywheel bolts. But this is what I'm going to be using for the back plate. For this kit over here, you basically have everything oil cooler related, and then there's like a turbo piece in here. Since we got the Banks cooler, they're going to have all this. This is really all spare. Comes with the new bolts. You got the 2 O-rings on the back and a rear main seal. Then there's some silicone that comes with as well. Not sure how much of this I'm going to actually record. Not much to see, honestly. Put the O-rings in for the back cover, and then put a light layer of silicone. You don't want to go crazy with this. And then just basically bolt this on, torque everything, and then we'll be good to go. Then we can get the upper pan on. So, again, can't really show too much of this because this is very time intensive, and I got to kind of hurry up a little bit. So I'm going to get this done real quick. I got the rear cover on, just a light coat of paint. Can't really see it. Figured I might as well do it because why not? Got the rear main seal in. I did not use the correct installer. I used a punch like everyone else. You can get mad at me if you want for that. Now it's time for the flywheel. So I'll get that bolted on with new bolts. This is where we're at here. Just got the upper pan on, the back plate, went ahead and put the flywheel on. Now I need to put on the lower pan, then we'll set this back down and I'll do the exhaust. I did go with the PPE cast pan. I think it adds another quart, I believe, and it drains out all the oil. That is an issue on the Duramaxes. Make sure these are tight, by the way. I've definitely left one loose before thinking it was tight, but besides the point. Let's get this installed. Right, now I got the deep pan on, and the engine is basically sealed now. I do want to put the oil cooler on before I do the exhaust manifold, so I will be showing that a little more in depth because everything else was just kind of boring, but the oil cooler is actually pretty neat, so I'll show that. On the Banks oil cooler here, outside of the engine, obviously, this is going to be a lot easier. In frame, these are like probably one of the more difficult jobs you could ever do, but thankfully it's obviously outside. So you have your 2 ports right here. These are going to line up on the block and bolt in. It comes with all new bolts. This thing right here is going to go to here on the water pump using the factory coolant pipe, and that goes to the rear cover right there. So put a little bit of silicone lubricant around the O-rings. I think they have you do it. You put this on first and then you put that piece on second. Since it's out of the truck, I think it's more like a fitment issue. Like you can't fit the whole thing up there. So I think I can probably put that on. I'll just do it the way they say though, just to be sure. So I'm gonna get a little bit of silicone and then we'll get that bolted on. This is the stuff I use to lube O-rings. It's just silicone paste I got off Amazon. Just want to put a little bit on these so it slides in and we don't tear the O-ring. Because if we tear the O-ring and I have to take it all back apart in frame, I will not be happy. So I'm gonna put a little bit on these 2 as well. What I did was I did put that elbow on just because it was a little easier. And you got to put that pipe in, and then you just kind of put all of it up there at once. I'm gonna go ahead and put the oil filter on next. Same thing, put some lube on the O-ring. The silicone works fine. It is an AMSOIL, so a lot of people like to go to the big cat ones and the PPE, but AMSOIL is honestly probably the best option. Shop's kind of a mess right now. I will get that cleaned for the 3rd time in this video. But I have the exhaust right here. These are ported stock manifolds and then some slightly upgraded up pipes. With this turbo setup, I don't want high flows. Not sure why everyone keeps telling me I need high flows. I don't need high flows. We want to keep exhaust back pressure up, and a high flow is more volume, less pressure. The exact opposite of what we want, actually. But anyway, I got some new ARP bolts for the up pipes. I got little pieces of copper coat just hanging up everywhere. I built this little contraption out of some hooks. I'm getting everything copper coated. The manifolds, I baked on some high heat paint, so they're good to go. I guess I'll start by getting these on. Unfortunately, I just realized ARP only sends 5 bolts for one of these packs now, which is extremely unfortunate because now I have to buy 3 packs. So I will not be using ARPs anymore after this day. I'll use their head studs, but not using these anymore because that is just greedy, honestly. But I have some extra ARPs laying around, so I'll grab those, but I'm going to get these installed. So one thing I did have to do, which I know is an issue, this is an LML style manifold, and this is like an L5P style cooler. This is an LB7, so it's really not all meant to work together, so you do have to shave down the exhaust manifold. I knew the heat shield, there's a place for the heat shield to bolt right here. I knew that one had to be gone, so I got that one, but I got it to a point now where it's going to mount up and it's going to leave enough space for the coolant pipe, hopefully. But that should get us good for this side. Went ahead and got the turbo set back on. I also got these return lines done. Got this fancy loom for it. I actually like this loom a lot. It's like some wiring loom. I put it around the soft lines. Wish I could do it around the hard lines, but I feel like that'd be too much, honestly. But there's a couple more things I need. I need to get the ARP bolt. I still got the one bolt right there. And then the manifold bolts, I still need to find a couple of them because some of them were super rusty and I didn't want to reuse them. So I still do have a few. And then I obviously need to get a wiring harness, which I will be tracking down. I don't know what I want to do with the wiring harness. I want to keep it as hidden as possible. The Fickum is up here. Since I'm not doing fuel in the Fickum, I guess I could like move it back under the pipe, but I kind of want to keep it away from the turbo. But at the same time, that big bulky connector I want to try and hide. So I'm definitely going to be running some wiring like right here behind the Y bridge. There's enough space. It's away from the exhaust. So ideally I'd run the harness like down the front and hide it completely, but I don't have time for that right now. That's gonna be a later project. And I got all the injectors I gotta plug in. I still have the glow plugs, which the glow plugs on these are actually pretty simple. It's a pretty clean design, so I'm not too worried about that. But then I'll get the crankcase done. I do have a catch can I'm gonna be putting on this. I don't like to vent to atmosphere because it blows oil on your frame, which really you shouldn't have that much oil, but even then, just a little bit of gunk on your frame over time. I don't like that, so we'll be using a catch can. A little better for the environment. This coolant hose, I believe this went to the EGR, but obviously it's an LB7. This was a California LB7, but we're just doing a normal LB7 build, so it's going to go straight to the heater core, I believe. Then the heater core, I think there's a line that comes down this side and goes to the coolant reservoir or radiator, one or the other. But overall, I'm really liking how this is coming together. This line right here, I believe that is the factory turbo coolant line. There's a coolant line that comes out here, kind of runs along here. I think that's what that one is. And then the inlet for the coolant is on this side, and that's this right here. So that's obviously blocked off. I do still need a starter and an alternator. The alternator was burnt from the wiring harness, so unfortunately I can't reuse that. The starter, I stole it for a different truck, so I'll probably get, I think it's called like a power start or something like that. I think XDP sells whatever I need, so I will be ordering some of that soon. Over here, I do have a full exhaust, brand new. I think I paid $200 for it. Some kid did not want it anymore. I don't remember what kind of metal it is. It's not true aluminum, unfortunately, but it's stainless steel of some sort. I think it's called 409 or something like that. There's spiders all over that, but I don't know. It's stainless steel of some kind, so it's not gonna like rust out immediately. I also really like how these traction bars turned out. They definitely fit. The only complaint is they're gonna be hard to keep clean. It's kind of hard to see. They just gather dust a lot, but it is a pretty neat color. Illusion purple for anyone that didn't catch that at the start. I do have that done. The brake lines, I need to get that done as well. There's like a little tab I need for the soft line, but I'll be sure to get that at some point. I was going to end up getting this bed on by the end of the video, but I've been awake for a very long time. I was up all night working on this truck, getting the engine done, getting that traction bar done this morning. Accessories, I do need to do accessories. Power steering pump, I might run the factory one, the one that came on it, just for now, because I just kind of want to get this engine done. And then obviously I got all that stuff on this side, the alternator mount up top, and the Fickum on the side. That's going to be it for today's video. Next week, I'm getting the transmission done. We just got the dipstick. We got to fill it with fluid, put one sensor in it. That's going to be done. Got some small things in the engine bay to finish up, but then it'll be time to set the engine in. So if you guys like what you saw, be sure to like and follow. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.